We're now going to talk about weather because it's that time of year where weather happens. It gets a bit colder, gets a bit windier. Sometimes we see a bit of snow, but to some it seems that it's a bit of a surprise, actually, particularly to our travel and rail companies. But joining me to talk about this now, and I'm going to try and keep calm because the last time we spoke, it did kick off a little bit, but I do like him really, even though I disagree with just about everything he says. It is the wonderful, the brilliant author of Whether or Not, Jim Dale.
Good afternoon, Russell.
Jim, how are you?
I'm good. I'm actually quite warm with the sun on my back. So look,
must be climate change. Must be climate change.
Oh no! Don't go down to that. Was yesterday with the floods in the northwest.
But it looks very sunny there. Whereabouts are you?
I'm in High Wycombe at the moment. Not too far from where you are, to be honest with you, but it is a really nice day if you're not in northern Scotland where sweet and bittersweet. If you like the snow, then you love it. If you don't, then you don't. But up there in the far north, it is lots of snow showers up there, and they will continue, to be honest. They've got big problems, actually.
So we've seen a real change in the weather, Jim, haven't we, over the last kind of 24, 48 hours? It was actually quite mild previously, but it seems that automatically, as we now get into January, which I guess is is it the depths of midwinter, seasonally, technically?
Yeah, January, February normally is it. What caused it? The cold front that caused the problems in the northwest yesterday, particularly. That was slow moving. That's your division between polar air, which we're now all in, and temperate air, which we were in. So we switched. It's not abnormal to see these kind of switches at this time of year. It's about time we saw a little bit of winter, and hey presto, here it comes. With a lot
some of us look forward to it, actually, the cold weather. I quite like it, really. It's kind of bracing, isn't it? So talk to us about some of the temperatures that people can expect across the country. So how cold does it get, from the tip of Scotland all the way down to, let's say, the likes of Land's End? Yeah,
well, good point, actually, because down there, it is, I'm going to say balmy. It's not quite balmy, but it's actually relatively mild. We're looking at 8s, 9s and 10s at the moment, whereas if you go to the Highlands of Scotland, you're hovering around the freezing, if not colder. Now, I'll just say this to you: in this next week, as we go through the week, those same Highlands, the Glens, etc., Grampians, Highlands, -10, -15 quite comfortably. Other parts of England and Wales, -5, 6s and 7s. There's no problem with that whatsoever. We're in winter's grip.
And is that normal, Jim?
Yeah, it is. I think it is. When you get into a polar airstream with the polar front, which is what's the division, anything goes. And we've seen lower temperatures in the past, but they're critically low in terms of burst pipes, etc. when you get the thaw. So you've got to watch out for that one as things, and I say as things warm up, but not yet. I've got to give you the story of what's happening this weekend, if you're not going to already ask me, because it is important.
Yeah, sure.
So this weekend, not Saturday morning, that'll be a cold morning everywhere, cold and frosty and icy. The afternoon from the southwest, so initially some snow over the high ground of Exmoor, Dartmoor. All of that will start moving across northeastwards into England and Wales. Copious amounts of snow, maybe even London to start with, or I think what will happen there in those southern counties, it will quite readily turn to rain. But further north, I'm going to say the Midlands, maybe even where I am, lots and lots of snow. There's going to be real problems on Saturday afternoon stroke evening into Sunday as well, up to southern Scotland. So it's probably 3/4 of the country that's going to get snowbound. So whether you like it or whether you don't like it, I'm sure there's plenty of people listening who want the snow. It's coming, and you're going to have to watch yourself, particularly if you're travelling on there you go, there's some nice pictures.
And how long is it going to snow for? A day, 2 days?
I would think 24, 36 hours. It will come up, and what will happen, that milder air will push up, but it's, as I say, it's going into cold air. It'll push back again. The cold air will push back. And I'll just say this to you, Russell. I don't think we're going very far very quickly as far as the cold weather's concerned this side of mid-month. So you can prepare for much more of this going forward.
So you think it's here to stay for a good 2 or 3 weeks, as in cold temperatures, more snow?
I think it is.
And of course, we are famously unable to cope when it comes to infrastructure, aren't we? When it comes to rail travel, airports and roads. So can we expect disruption?
Well, one of them, yes, we can. And one of the reasons we don't cope is people don't take the education on as far as what to do in these types of weather. What happens, if you like. We sort of almost go into it blindly. That's why I wrote that book, Whether or Not. it's all in there, what the weather can do, left, right and centre, what it actually does for us. So your habits today will have changed from yesterday in terms of how you're feeling, what you're eating, what you're wearing, where you're going. All of this changes. So just be set for a winter mode now for the next fortnight and you'll do pretty well in it.
So I'll say this with my tongue in my cheek. If it's getting cold like it does every winter, there's clearly no such thing as climate change.
No. What you're talking about there, Russell, is pure weather. The weather changes. The sun disappears, or the angle of the sun disappears over the equator. It's moving on its way back now, but we've got this legacy. So look, weather is weather, climate is climate. We've seen changes in the climate. We know 2024 was the hottest year in human history.
Well, hang on, human history? That only goes back about 100,000 years, isn't it?
So that's enough, isn't it? I mean,
well, not when the planet's billions of years old. No, because obviously it doesn't account for what happened 500,000 years ago or 2 million years ago.
It's the human bit and the ecosystems bit that actually counts, because we're here now, not when the dinosaurs were alive, or even when. But in human terms, in data terms, it's a bit like judging a movie on kind of the last 5 minutes. Not really, because you can see very graphically on the graphs the actual spikes that are occurring simply because of more fossil fuels, record fossil fuels emissions going into the atmosphere. You can actually see all these.
But that's contested, Jim. That's contested by an equal number of scientists to those that you were subscribed to that say that car engines and boilers are boiling the nation, boiling the globe.
You find yourself in a diminishing small band. I'll just say this: I would challenge any, and we've got five MPs who are denialists in the House of Commons and their chairman.
Would you be referring to reform by any chance?
Yeah. Well,
I think you'll find there might be more than 5 MPs out of 650 that don't necessarily subscribe to the climate extremism that you and others do.
Yeah. Okay, well, no, I think the extremism on the other side, but I'll challenge any one of those MPs or their chairman to come and talk with me and debate the nuances of climate change. Man-made climate change is what they denied. They don't deny climate change per se. Man-made climate change. I know the reasons, but we'll I'll give that to your producers and say, arrange it. I'll get on there with Richard Tice or Nigel Farage or any of them who wish to come on, and we can have a discussion. You can be the chairman, no problem whatsoever.
I think done. I'd love to do. I mean, I'm not sure I could be an impartial chairman because, I'm also one of common sense that doesn't believe that the hype from the likes of Dale Vince and Ed Miliband and others is warranted insofar as this whole thing around fossil fuels equals carbon dioxide equals heat, because there are many that think it's the other way around, that actually that carbon follows heat, and that the world is simply warming as it always does every few 100,000 years. And in fact, the science that I listen to and subscribe to shows that the globe has always warmed. There's always been carbon dioxide. In fact, in history, there's generally been more carbon dioxide on the planet than there is now.
Yeah, but we weren't there, and that
exactly.
That's the point. Look,
so how did the climate warm if we weren't here?
It warmed through CO2 in exactly the same way.
But we didn't. Yeah, but it was being produced by who then? By who? Because we weren't here.
And angles of the sun, etc. There's lots of dimensions that come into this, and you've got to think. You've got to remember, it only takes a 1.5 degrees, is where we are now, to put people into problems when you get the extremes of heat, because that means an extra 10 degrees on the surface. I'll just say this to you: you could walk in a classroom, a first school classroom. Ask the children there whether they believe in climate change, what's around them.
Of course they will, because they've been indoctrinated by the faculty, haven't they?
No, they haven't.
The same as the civil service, the same as the NHS. Everyone's been indoctrinated by this myth. By the way, Jim, hang on, before we go, so we've got to go to a break. I have actually bought your book, Surviving Extreme Weather.
Well done.
Well, I haven't read it yet, so maybe you can. Well, yeah, I'll read it and then we can have a debate about it. But no, I bought it just to show balance. I'm really looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Is it a comedy novel? Is it a work of fiction, or is it real?
Hardly. There's a few laughs in there.
Go on, such as
in there, but most of it is meant to help people and put them into a place of safety when the proverbial hits the fan. Let me just say that. Okay.
I guess, and I would say this, when China, India and the United States that are responsible for 80% of carbon emissions, when they rein it in, maybe we can take it seriously. But until then, as we talked about earlier on, actually, you should have been on the EV segment where we talk about electric vehicles and their pointless deployment, their pointless construction. There is absolutely no point us in Britain doing anything whilst the rest of the world chugs fossil fuels and carbon into the Earth's atmosphere.
We do our bit. We do our bit, Russell.
Do our bit. Our 1%. Yeah, it'll make all the difference once that's eradicated. Jim, love you to bits. Really good to speak to you. And I'm sure we'll speak again soon, mate. All right, and I'm looking forward to reading the book. That was Jim Dale. That wasn't too bad, was it? Yeah, I think I behaved myself. Look, I can show restraint. There you go, bosses.